Go. Go. Take it upstairs.
This upstairs?
Yeah, don't get on my bed with it. Top of the day, beautiful people. Happy Sunday. Betwabu, betwabu. First thing, they follow me right down the stairs. All the way down the stairs. I'm like, oh, I should get up earlier. All right, y'all. Today is Sunday. I hope you enjoyed your day of rest. It is Sunday, February the 2nd, 2020. We are on day 61 of year 2 of reading through the books of instruction and the prophets. Today we're reading Deuteronomy 28, 29, and 30. And guess what? Tomorrow we're going to read 4 chapters because it's the last 4 chapters of Deuteronomy. And I think the last chapter is very short anyway, so we're just going to make that 4 tomorrow and be done with the book of Deuteronomy. Yeah, 34 is only like 12 verses, so we're going to add that till tomorrow's reading. All right, so let's get started. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Everybody, if nobody's familiar with anything from the Old Testament, everybody should be very familiar with Deuteronomy chapter 28. All right. And it shall come to pass, excuse me, that if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahuwah thy God to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that Yahuwah thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yahuwah thy God. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field. Blessed shall the fruit of thy body. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thine kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be the basket and thy store. Blessed shalt thou be when thou come in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou go out. Yahuwah shall cause thine enemies to rise up. Yahuwah shall cause thy enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee in one way and flee before thee 7 ways. And Yahuwah shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses and in all that thou settest thine hand unto. And he shall bless thee in the land which Yahuwah thy God giveth thee. And Yahuwah shall establish thee a holy people unto himself, as he has sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahuwah thy God and walk in his ways. And all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of Yahuwah, and they shall be afraid of thee. And Yahuwah shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which Yahuwah sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Yahuwah shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heavens, to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And Yahuwah shall make thee the head, and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. If that thou hearken unto the commandments of Yahuwah thy God, which I command thee in this day to observe and do them, and thou shalt not go aside from any of these words which I command thee this day, from the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. But it shall come to pass that thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahuwah thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou come in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou go out. Yahuwah shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou set thy hand unto, do until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. For Yahuwah shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. Yahuwah shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with the inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. And Yahuwah shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven it shall come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. Yahuwah shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies, and thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. And Yahuwah will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou cannot be healed. Yahuwah shall smite thee with madness, and blindness, and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind grope in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. And thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her, and thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes therein. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored unto thee. And thy sheep shall be given unto thy enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. The fruit of thy land and all thy labor shall a nation which knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away, and crushed always, so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. Yahuwah shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. Yahuwah shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations, whither Yahuwah shall lead thee. And thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and thou shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. And thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but neither shall drink of the wine, nor gather the grapes, for the worm shall eat them. And thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coast, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast his fruit. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low, and lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend unto him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearken not unto the voice of Yahuwah thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou serve not Yahuwah thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which Yahuwah shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in the want of all things. And he shall put the yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. I mean, most of us here today, we understand what this is about now. Pretty much the plight of the Jacob's 12 sons, his 12 tribes, or Yahuwah's people. Yahuwah shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the ends of the earth, as swift as the eagle that flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. And if you do understand, you will know exactly who these people are, because there is only one people upon this earth that all these things have happened to. He said, after the blessing, then comes the curse. There's only one nation of people that this has happened to, and is happening to, is still happening to this day. Most of what you see, there's only one nation of people that can claim that. Think about it. Yahuwah shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave either corn, wine, or oil, or increase of thine kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trusted that throughout all thy land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which Yahuwah thy God giveth thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thy own body, the flesh of thy sons and daughters, which Yahuwah thy God hath given thee, in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee, so that a man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave, so that he will not give to any of them the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left him in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground, for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward her husband, toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege, and straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, Yahuwah thy God, then Yahuwah will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and long continuance, and sore sickness, and of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in this law, then will Yahuwah bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven, for a multitude, because thou would not obey the voice of Yahuwah thy God. And it shall come to pass that as Yahuwah rejoiced over you to do you good, and to multiply you, so that Yahuwah will rejoice over you to destroy you, and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all the people, and from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But Yahuwah shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God there were evening. And in evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning. And the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And Yahuwah shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. That's Wabu. Chapter 29 of Deuteronomy. These are the words of the covenant which Yahuwah commanded Moses to make with the children of Yisrael or Israel in the land of Moab, beside the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. And Moses called unto all of Israel, Massa and Yisrael, and said unto them, you have seen all that Yahuwah did before your eyes in the land of Egypt unto Pharaoh, unto all his servants, and unto all his land. The great temptations which thine eyes have seen, the signs and those great miracles. Yet Yahuwah hath not given you a heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear unto this day. And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes are not waxen old upon you, and thy shoes are not waxen old upon thy foot. Ye have not eaten bread, neither have ye drunk wine or strong drink, that ye might know that I am Yahuwah thy God. And when ye came out into this place, Sihon the king of Heshbon and Og the king of Bashan came out against us unto battle, and we smote them, and we took their land, and gave it for an inheritance unto the Reubenites, and to the Gadites, and to the half tribe of Manasseh. Keep therefore the words of this covenant, and do them, that ye may prosper in all that ye do. Ye stand this day, all you, before Yahuwah your God, your captains of your tribes, your elders, and your officers, with all the men of Yisrael, your little ones, your wives, and thy stranger that is in thy camp, from the hewer of thy wood unto the the person that draws water, the drawer of thy water. I still messed it up. That thou shouldest enter into covenant with Yahuwah thy God, and into his oath which Yahuwah thy God maketh with thee this day, that he may establish thee today for a people unto himself, that he may be unto thee a God, as he has said unto thee, and as he has sworn unto thy fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Neither with you only do I make this covenant and oath, but with him that standeth here with us this day before Yahuwah our God also, and also with him that is not here with us this day. For ye know how we have dwelt in the land of Egypt, and how we came through the nations which ye passed by. And ye have seen their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which were among them. Lest there should be among you man or woman or family or tribe whose heart turneth away this day from Yahuwah our God to go and serve the gods of these nations. Lest there should be among you a root that beareth gall and wormwood. And it come to pass, when he heareth the words of this curse, that he bless himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of my heart, and add drunkenness to thirst. And Yahuwah will not spare him. But the anger of Yahuwah and his jealousy shall smoke against the man, and all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him. And Yahuwah shall blot out his name from under heaven. And Yahuwah shall separate him unto evil out of all the tribes of Yisrael, according to all the curses that of the covenant that are written in this book of the law, so that the generation to come of your children that shall rise up after you, and the stranger that shall come from a far land shall say, when they see the plagues of that land, and the sickness which Yahuwah hath laid upon it, and that the whole land thereof is brimstone and salt and burning, that it is not sown nor beareth, nor any grass groweth therein, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Adamah and Zeboim, which Yahuwah overthrew in his anger and in his wrath. Even all the nations shall say, wherefore hath Yahuwah done thus unto this land? What meaneth the heat of this great anger? Then men shall say, because they have forsaken the covenant of Yahuwah their God, which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt. For they went and served other gods and worshipped them, gods whom they knew not, and whom he had not given unto them. And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against this land, to bring it upon it all the curses that are written in this book. And Yahuwah rooted them out of their land in anger, and in wrath, and in great indignation, and cast them into another land, as it is this day. The secret things belong unto Yahuwah our God, but those things which are revealed belong to us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law.
Now?
Wait a minute, babe. Last chapter for the day, Deuteronomy chapter 31, y'all.
Mom,
Yes,
go
baby.
now.
No, we're not going to go right now, okay? Give me a few minutes, okay?
Go now.
Where are we going?
Go pray. In Tara.
Nope, Tara's not coming over here today.
In Tara. Car.
Okay, we'll talk about it in a second. Deuteronomy chapter 30. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether Yahuwah thy God have driven thee, and shalt return unto Yahuwah thy God, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul. That then Yahuwah thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion on thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whither Yahuwah thy God hath scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out to the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahuwah thy God gather thee, from thence will he fetch thee. And Yahuwah thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good and multiply thee upon above thy fathers. And Yahuwah thy God will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahuwah thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou may live. And Yahuwah thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecute thee. Yes, baby girl. Go ahead, put it on. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yahuwah, and do all his commandments which I command thee this day. Wait a minute, hold on. And Yahuwah thy God will make thee plenteous in every work of thine hand, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy land, for good. And Yahuwah will again rejoice over thee for good, as he rejoiced over thy fathers, if thou shalt hearken unto his voice, the voice of Yahuwah thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law. And if thou shalt turn unto Yahuwah thy God with all thine heart and with all thy soul, for this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not hidden from thee, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven, that thou shouldst say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us, that we may hear it too, and do it. Neither is it beyond the sea, that thou shouldst say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us, that we may hear and do it. But the word is very nigh unto thee, in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou may do it. See, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil, and that I command thee this day to love Yahuwah thy God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that thou may live and multiply. And Yahuwah thy God shall bless thee in the land whither thou go to possess it. But if thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shall be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish, and that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land whither thou passest over the Jordan to go to possess it. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Wait a minute, Bella. Therefore choose life, that thou and thy seed may live, and thou may love Yahuwah thy God, and that thou may obey his voice, and that thou may cleave unto him, for he is thy life, and the length of thy days, that thou may dwell in the land which Yahuwah thy God sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them. And that is our reading for today. Good morning, top of the day. All right, beautiful people. Kids up and running around. All right, so quick recap. It is Sunday, February the 2nd, 2020, day 61 of year 2 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. We read Deuteronomy 28, 29, and 30. All right, y'all. So with that being said, let's go ahead and bless you so we can get about our day. Remember, the blessing comes from Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. All right, y'all, remember, peace is wholeness, wellness in every area of life. All right, y'all, I love y'all, and I'll see you in the morning. Peace. I got it.